My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome. This is your favorite podcast, Three Brothers No Sense, with your three favorite podcast hosts. I am Tavares Ferguson, here with my co-hosts, Byron Evans and Orazio Mancarella, in no certain order. Byron, introduce yourself to the people.
What's going on, Byron? You may hear them refer to me as Buff from time to time on this podcast. Man, we just hope y'all enjoying this as much as we are, man. We're having a good time talking about different topics, so continue to subscribe, tell a friend, kick back and just listen to us and enjoy.
Razi, it's your time.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining in, talking with us. However you're listening to us, we appreciate you giving us your time. We're going to give you our all and just enjoy it.
Appreciate it, fellas. As I said, I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg. And once again, you're listening to Three Brothers No Sense. And before we go much further, I do want to take a moment to pay special tribute to our beloved former principal of John L. LaFleur High School, Dr. Frederick Marshall. He passed last month, and I feel like we shouldn't go much further without taking a moment of silence to honor the late, great Fred Marshall. So give a moment of silence, fellas. Well, all right. Appreciate that. That's a hard way to start a show, but we'd be remiss if we didn't give that tribute to Mr. Marshall. Well, fellas, how was your week so far? We're kicking off the week. How was last week?
Oh, man, it was good. But before we get into that, though, I want to know, what was you guys' favorite Fred Marshall memory? Because for me, I'll never forget the time that I almost ran over somebody in my truck. It was an accident. I came off the clutch too fast and it jerked. So I just want to let y'all know that it was not on purpose. It was a little bit of an altercation. And so, but with that, Fred, he came, he grabbed me after everything was over. And he was like, you are effing up. He just told me straight up. He's like, you are effing up. He's like, you got so much ahead of you, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to see that happen. So we're going to have to figure this out, but I'm not going to let you go down. And that let me know right there that he really did care and wanted me to succeed as much of a, he'd come out and he'd be on us and he'd like just call us out on whatever was going on. He really did care that every last one of us made it. And so, big ups to Fred. Love Mr. Marshall to death. And, that was just, I love that man.
Oh, look at you.
That was pretty dope, man. You asked what our favorite moment was. It's kind of hard to pick one. I give you two quick ones. One, we both have a good friend in Wendell Grant, a.k.a. Slim, also a.k.a. Cuddy. I think it was in like 9th or 10th grade, man. And Wendell had been cursing. And Mr. Marshall heard him and was trying to get his attention as Wendell was walking away. So he just was like, Grant. And Wendell kept walking. So he caught up with Wendell later on that day and said, Grant, why didn't you come here? I know you heard me calling you. Oh, sorry, Mr. Marshall. I ain't hear you calling me. You go to my damn office. I bet you heard that. So that's one of them. And the other one, Ferg, I believe you was there with me. It might have been the first week of senior year. We did so much skipping. It's kind of hard to know. But we were getting ready to skip school, and we were just trying to figure out where we were going to go. And I think we were supposed to be in PE. And it was like me, you, 2 or 3 other people. Like, man, let's go here. Nah, man, I'm telling you, man, we should go there. Look, we need to make up our mind before Mr. Mark. I swear to you to this day, folks, I don't care what you think about me, Mr. Marshall came out the ground. There's no way he walked up on us. We were in an open parking lot, y'all. Anybody that went to the floor, y'all know how that school is built. We was in an open parking lot. He came out of nowhere. It's like he stepped through a portal like Thanos or something. Like, he came out of nowhere, bro. And he was like, Tavares, Burn, where you supposed to be at? We was like, we're running late for PE, Mr. Marsh. But, you know, he just found a way to be everywhere. And he really kept that school in line, because if you know the type of area that LaFleur is in and stuff, it definitely could have been a lot more rough than what it was without his leadership. So for all of us to be 38 years old and be paying tribute to a high school principal, that should let you listeners know how much that man meant to us.
The crazy thing is, I was there for both moments. We were on our way to chorus, actually, Byron. Second day of school, senior year, got sent home. He didn't tell you that part. So we were trying to skip, and we got 4 skips. So my favorite Mr. Marshall moment came junior year at a talent show where Rozzy was there. We actually had another one of our homeboys, Lorenzo, was there, and some of our friends from the band, young ladies. And we had a dance routine. And
at the talent show. Yep.
At the talent show. And the crazy thing was, we wanted to make a name for ourselves at the talent show with this dance, and all went as planned. We danced, we were getting house, everybody was enjoying it. And just about the time we planned for Mr. Marshall to cut the music, because that was his thing when it got a little too raunchy, I'll use those words, he would cut the music. And from our understanding, that was the end of it. So Mr. Marshall cuts the music. We run over there to the junior section and to applause and cheers. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm looking at the junior class, and you literally see them go from 60 to 0 in no time flat. Like, you saw people cheering, and then you saw them slowly quieting down and sitting down. And as they sat down, I turned around just in time for Mr. Marshall to grab me on my shoulder and say, "You know you're going home, don't you?" Unfortunately, none of the rest of the people that performed the routine with me saw Mr. Marshall. Then the ladies saw him. They ran. Thank you for abandoning us, ladies. Rozzy and our homeboy Lorenzo were still cheering, trying to figure out what was going on. And that's when I had to deliver the news that Mr. Marshall told us we're going home and we need to go to his office. We sat in his office all day. He talked to us about his disappointment in us, called our parents to the office, told them that how much he expected us from us and how disappointed he was in us, and took care of us. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We got, once again, sent home from school, which was kind of the theme of, it was actually my birthday too. So, yeah. You know, I got in a lot of trouble. No, I didn't. I'm not even gonna lie. Didn't really get in a lot of trouble, but it was fun, man. Mr. Marshall kept us laughing, kept us rolling, but he had great intentions. So
yeah, he saved us twice that day, because that routine, we literally had nothing planned after that part of the routine, because if he didn't cut us, we didn't know what we were going to do, because we knew how bad that routine was at that point. We were like, this is right about the time he's going to cut us.
Yeah, because of all that gyrating of the pelvis. Those were his words. All that gyrating of the pelvis. He got on the mic, told the rest of the student body if they have anything like that going on in their routine, they might as well not even perform. And so we were the scapegoats, the guinea pigs, or whatever. But once again, thank you guys for giving us a second to pay honor to Mr. Marshall. For our visitors, our listeners, please leave your comments and give us your favorite Mr. Marshall moments. So getting on to the regular show, the show is, as you know it, we're going to start off with our questions. And as usual, I will kick us off. So, fellas, over the past few weeks, we talked about our wives and our kids. a lot. And so I want to come full circle and ask a question that encompasses both. So all three of us on here are married with at least one kid. And in my interactions, a lot of my friends, both male and female, a lot of times we wrap our duty as husband and father in one, or especially when it comes to wives. I see that a lot. They wrap the motherhood and the wife, being a wife, into one. So my question comes, if you had to give yourself a letter grade or a grade, I would rather do a number grade. As a husband, what would it be? Likewise, if you had to give yourself a grade as a father, what would that be and why?
We're doing on a scale of 1 to 10.
I need an 8. I need
letter grades. I give myself a 95 because what works better? You want to do? No, we can do letter grade.
Yeah.
Letter grade.
Yeah. So,
numeric grade.
Numeric, yeah.
All right.
Who wants to take this first?
As far as you said, a husband. Yes, husband first. As far as a husband, I think I would give myself somewhere around an 85. Which is considered very good. Not quite great. And room to improve. So I'm always looking for ways to improve. I randomly will ask her from time to time, hey, is there anywhere where I'm falling short? Is there anything that you would like me to do better, do less, do more, etc.? So I'm always trying to, I realize I will always have blind spots. And so I try to ask her, and I'm always trying to do better. Sometime in our chats, we discuss our spouses, and I'll get advice from you guys as well. So somewhere around an 85. As far as a father, I'm definitely not perfect, but I do my best. And so that's going to have to be high. I'll say low 90s, like a 93, 94, something like that. My job kind of keeps me away from her. Plus some of the extracurricular stuff I do with the amateur boxing judging and stuff, but I try to set aside, we talked about this before, set aside daddy-daughter days where it's just me and her. It's all about me and her that whole day. She appreciates those. I try to take interest. We talked about her sketch art. I take, interest in what she takes interest in. So, but again, there's always room to improve. I don't think anybody's perfect, at least in my opinion. So a 93 as a dad, 85 as a husband.
Cool. Razi, it's on you.
Buff, I'd put you in like 98, 99 on that parent part, man. Like we talked about it last time. Like you are that guy that was like, okay, yeah, that's it right there. I got to make sure I'm emulating that. So, but for me, the marriage side of it, I'd probably go with a 89, maybe bumping into a 90, only because, like Byron said, you got room to improve. There's always stuff. I fly off the handle sometimes. Like yes. I'm probably the most even keel person that you can really kind of think of. But the problem is I don't share that frustration until I blow up. So even keel. Then I just blow up, and so I have to watch that and make sure that I'm checking for it. But that's probably why I bring myself down to in the 80s instead of being in the 90s. But it is, I'm going to provide, I'm going to do my all, I spend time and all of that. But it's just watching those times that it does kind of start getting to me. And I guess not sharing my emotions until I'm ready to blow up is another part that probably brings me down. Because I'm not consistent with sharing those emotions. As a parent, I'm probably going to be a little hard on myself, mainly because having to be that remote parent with Haley, I think that brings me down a little bit. So I'd probably say 83, 84. I'd give myself a B, because like Byron said, I'm trying to be there. I'm going to give it as much time as I can. We talk, we laugh, we do things together. But especially me having Sophia and Oliver here with me, and then Haley not being able to be with me, I see the differences. And so just me being away from her brings me down just because I couldn't be there. Not necessarily it's my fault or anything like that. I don't blame myself for the situation. What I do is I blame myself because she has to deal with that situation. And so that's where I bring myself down on that one.
Okay. That's a very interesting spin. I didn't think about that. So I'm going to throw a spin back. So in not separating your kids or putting one of the other by any means, but let's keep it in like a school. So Haley is part of your cumulative, your overall GPA. What about your, let's say, these core courses, the kids in your house?
Okay.
So you're 83, 84 all over, but just these core courses, the kids are eat, sleep, breathe.
With me every day,
Yeah.
or just the core parent things. So even throwing Haley in, but being there, being able to talk to him, be able to guide him, those types of things. I mean, I still can do that for Haley. In that case, I'd probably bring myself into a 90, 92. When you kind of look at the averages of everything, that core, being there, being able to kind of support the kids, support the family, give them advice, steer them the way they need to go, being that father figure, I can say that even for Haley not being there with her all the time.
Okay.
And I just want to interject real quick. I asked the missus and she said I get a 92 on a husband. So,
boom.
I was gonna ask that.
That's pretty generous of her, but I'll take it.
But I wanted to, and I'm gonna put that. I like that. I'm actually taking notes. But this is actually, I've asked this question to friends, including their wives before, and I always usually see a trend, and I'm actually a little different from everybody. So if I had to start off as a husband, I'd probably give myself that same 90 to 92, Rozzy. As a father, I probably would still give myself a high B. 88, 89, 87 to 89. And I struggle with that sometimes, but the reason I think I would give myself a higher grade as a husband, and not saying you guys think this any different, but I always see my marriage as a basis or the building blocks for being able to raise my kids, if that makes sense.
I know where you're getting at.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of, especially in our community, where we always put our kids first. So when you have 2, 3, 4 kids, now they have 2 kids, not putting my wife behind those 2 makes her the third most important person in my house. And so I try to go out of my way to make sure that I'm being a great father to my kids, but also know that if I'm a 90-92, 90-92 as a husband, there's nobody else giving that attention to my wife. Like my wife and I are both giving attention to our kids, so we make up my 89 and her 92 still average out to 8. Does that make sense? So I actually asked this question to a friend of mine who was going through some marital issues. And I asked that question, and they responded as about a 95 as a parent and a low B as a spouse. And the question would be like, are you happy with that? And what would it take for you to be whatever your highest is? 94 as a father, but what would it take for you to be 94 as a husband as well? Are we putting that same emphasis on it?
And I think a lot of separations and divorces are caused by that. People concentrating on the kids way too much and not concentrating on their spouse, not putting in that work to maintain that relationship with their spouse, because the kids come first. I gotta take care of the kid. I'm practices, getting them to school, getting them on the bus, getting them to daycare, taking care of them, got to help them with homework. And by the time you get 9:30, 10 o'clock and you lay down next to your spouse, y'all tired, y'all end up going to bed. And so you might go a whole week without really having a conversation with your spouse. And so...
And the kids are so much easier to, like, I love my wife to death, but there's times where I'm like, if she don't say nothing to me for the rest of the day, I would be okay. And I say that
pretty brave right there, bro.
And I love my wife. Like I tell anybody, I love my wife. That is the best decision I've ever made in my life. But my wife knows how to get under my skin like nobody else in the world. And it's just because we're around each other so much. It's just the pains of marriage, But even with my daughter being a miniature version of my wife, she's 4 years old. So if her and my wife did the exact same thing, I can't have the same reaction because my wife is a grown person, grown up, and my daughter's a 4-year-old. So, you can't hold a grudge or, stay angry with the kids as long. And so it's easier to, when you're tired and just dead, to be able to have that affinity for the kids. Like it takes so much for me to be upset with my daughter. Even when I'm upset with her, that only lasts so long because she's so adorable. And then,
she gives you a hug and it's all
it's all over.
It's all over.
Like, me being mad at her or angry with her spoils her day, the look in her eye, yada, 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 yada. So, and you're absolutely right, Razi. Like I see that a lot where we focus so much on the kids that we forget that, for one, our marriage is the reason the kids are here. My wife and I try to celebrate our anniversary, and we always make time for it because it's easy to just become father and mother.
Roommates.
Yeah. It's easy to get lost in that family that, mom and dad, and forget to be husband and wife. So I always try to stress that, hey, let's, try to be all a parent, a spouse, and just work on it continuously. So it was just something that was always on my mind. Wanted to see how you guys rate yourselves as fathers and husbands, and seeing if, we kind of put it side by side, like, man, and you guys do great jobs as husbands. So it's kind of weird, hearing you guys give yourselves such low scores. But usually when I have this conversation, it was with some guys that really have a lot of room for improvement, and they admit it. So that's my time.
But I think us giving ourselves low scores is what causes us to be good husbands, because we're constantly saying, I need to do better. I can do better. And so we're always thinking about how to be better and how to do better. So we don't just rest on our laurels and say, well, I took her out, 2 months ago. We'll be all right. We're good. We got to spend that extra time.
Yeah, true. Barney, you've been quiet over there, man. What's on your mind?
Well, first thing, for those that are listening, if you heard any type of glitch, it was because I was trying to get my wife in here to answer that question, and she did not want to be on the screen, on the microphone. She did not want her voice anywhere on it. So I wound up asking her what my grade was. So hopefully Razio was able to edit it out. If not, it's my fault. Blame me. That's where the whole little glitch came in that segment. Second, man, as we told the listeners before, we don't discuss our topics before the show. We just throw it out there to get that natural reaction. And the last 2 times, I knew what I was going to talk about. This was the first time I had no idea what I was going to talk about. I just was I was going to go off, what you guys brought up first. So since you kind of kept it in the realm of marriage, Ferg, I guess I'll go there. And I guess it could kind of be controversial depending on our answer. So tread lightly, fellas. So
you tried to get us in trouble.
A few weeks ago, man, the whole Nicole Murphy thing with her cheating with a married man and stuff. Well, she didn't cheat, but the dude was cheating on. I can't think of her real name, but Sunshine from Harlem Nights, cheated on her. And everybody had their input, and I pretty much kind of, as far as social media wise, I kept it to myself. I think in our private groups, we may have discussed it a little bit. But my question to you guys is, and if you don't want to answer it in your personal situation, just hypothetically, because, I looked at the situation, I was like, okay, I think her name is Leela. Yeah, she put on some weight, but I heard it was because she has lupus or whatever the case may be. But just looking at Nicole and looking at her, I was like, a lot of men are visual. He's wrong, but I guess I get it. But I guess the right thing would have been, if that's how he feels, he should have left her. Ferg, in the past, you have admittedly said that you were shallow and that you would.
I might have said that once or twice.
So I remember, you really don't want, your significant other to put on a substantial amount of weight. So all three of us being married or whatever, I want to get your take on it. Like, again, it doesn't have to be your personal situation. You can speak hypothetically. There's a safe zone, fellas. But hypothetically, how do you feel?
This is not a safe zone. This is a podcast. People are listening and judging us right now.
But what do you think, though, about a significant other that you marry and they wind up putting on a substantial amount of weight? How do you feel about that situation? It doesn't have to be a man, because we as men usually are the ones that put on weight before the women. So how do you feel about a significant other almost in a way demanding that their spouse stay in shape and look reasonably how they did when they first got together?
Well, I guess I'll start since you kind of threw me out there.
Hey, in my defense, Rozzy, he said that on Twitter one time. So he put it out.
He did.
But it's crazy. One thing I think I do really well is I'm honest with myself and honest with the people around me. And believe it or not, one of my first conversations, if not it might have been the night I met my wife, I told her I was shallow.
Damn. Okay.
But I'll go to us. We've had those conversations. We started talking about that early on. In the grand scheme of things, if, butterflies, sunshines, rainbows, all that stuff, if your spouse gains weight or whatever the case may be, you should love them no matter what. And I agree. I will love my wife no matter what. The caveat to that is I always want to be attracted to my wife. I think that it sounds shallow, but it's important. It's just realistic. I think a lot of men out there that might be cheating, or women out there might be cheating, that's not their goal, but they're missing something. I always want to be attracted to my wife. I met my wife at 21. I was almost 28. We just had our second child. My wife was still gorgeous to me, beautiful. But I know she'll never be the 21-year-old that I met 10 years ago or 11 years ago. And neither will I be that person. But I think it's important to at least attempt to remain attractive for that person. When you just chalk it up as an L, I had your kids, this is baby fat and all that stuff, you should love me no matter what. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but what are you doing for me? Yes, you're raising my kids, once again, going back to being a mother, but as my spouse, I still want to be attracted to you. I work out for my health, first of all, but also want to be in shape and attractive for my wife. I'm 38 years old, almost 39. My wife is 31. So part of my thing is I still want to remain in shape, and she tries to remain in shape as well. We feel like we owe that to each other. We know how important physical attractiveness is to in our relationship. And we admit it You know, it doesn't sound great, but it is what it is. So in her case, it was a medical issue, and I would stick with her through thick and thin, I would think, you know, but I don't know what I would have did with the Nicole Murphy, because that is Nicole Murphy.
Who, by the way, has had some scalpel help herself.
Yes.
So
if you can afford to get it done, man,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be mad.
I just wanted to put that out there. Like, people were saying, well, you know, obviously his wife is lazy and you got to get out there and grind like Nicole Murphy doing. It's like, it's not all grinding. She, you know, went under the knife. But go ahead, Razi.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this answer with cheating is unacceptable in any situation. So
I agree wholeheartedly.
So,
yeah, I agree. I just like how he put that out there.
So before we go down that road, I mean, because the thing about it is, no matter, I think you said it, Byron, no matter how he felt, if it was that serious where he was no longer attracted to her, and he could have broken that marriage off or separated before he went down that road with somebody else. You know, if he hadn't had that conversation that, hey, I need you to be physically attractive, like Ferg said, we had the conversation. I'm telling you what I need. If he hadn't had that conversation with her and then tried, helped her out, I saw some posts about, well, he should have got a gym membership and took her with him and this, that, and the other to try to make sure that, you know, she stayed fit and helped her stay fit. And then if it didn't work out, you guys go your separate ways if it's that serious for you. So there's no excuse for him going out, kissing another woman or cheating on his wife. But with that being said, Ferg, I agree. You have to be attracted. And not to say, you know, being bigger doesn't make you attractive either. That's the other part about it. I mean, you guys know I've dated some bigger women. I mean, I like the BBWs as well. So it's not like, you know. Like I like my wife right now. That's all I like. That's all I like. I don't see nobody else, baby. I love you. But anyway, when it comes down to it, you know, size doesn't equate to attractiveness. And so we got to get out of that mentality of, you know, you got to be a size 2, a size 0 to be attractive. You know, the little bit of extra weight or a lot of extra weight for some guys is very, very attractive. So it's just about open communication and honest communication with your spouse. And if you guys have that, I think you'll be okay. For me, the little bit of extra weight, then I actually tried, and Jenica will tell you, I tried to get her to put on some weight. So because she when we first started dating, she was a size 0 and she wanted to be a size 0 forever. And I'm like, wait till you hit 30, baby. You're not gonna be a 0 forever. And so I'm like, that weight actually looks good on her to me. I like her a little curvier. So, you know, I'm trying to get her to put on weight, and she is the one that's like, no, I don't want to do it. So it's as long as she's happy with her body, whatever it is, whatever size, I think I'll be fine with it and I'll be happy with it, because for me, it's not about the physical when I'm attracted to a woman. It really is about the mental, the spiritual, the energy you're putting out. And that's what attracts me to you. I want to be able to have a conversation. I want to be able to like you. And that part of it, the physical really isn't as important to me.
I agree with you, but I also challenge you. First of all, I'm a preface, and I agree with you wholeheartedly about weight. So it's just, and I think I talk about being attracted. Like, I like my wife with a little thicker as well. Like, she just had this baby, and now we're trying to figure out how to manage this weight and keep some of this weight on. You know, like, I don't need you to go back to this size. I want you to keep some of this on. But at the same time, it's not being attractive all the time. And there might be things about her, and going back to the original situation, that the 80-20 rule. What's her name, Byron?
We're gonna call her Sunshine from Harlem Nights.
Okay, Sunshine could have had a perfect personality, you know, great cook, great mother, like all these things. 80% of the things that this person wants, but that 20% that looks, it might not even been the weight. It could be that, and of course, it was the internet.
That's a great point.
internet was every time, so they probably showed the worst picture of her, compared to Nicole Murphy looking her best. But at the end of the day, my wife, the reason I'm with my wife is not because of the way she looks. None of us are with our wives because of that. It definitely helps because we have beautiful wives, but that's not the reason. So, and the fact that he just wanted to leave is like, I don't want to lose all this, but at the same time, I'm not attracted to this. So I think this is when you said the roommate situation, this is how a lot of people become roommates. Like they have so many great things going on, this vibe, but that physicality, that husband and wife trait, that this is my partner, hey, this is my partner through thick and thin. I know she got my back. She can raise my kids. She does all this. I do all this. We have this. But be waiting to look at my wife a certain way, because I think it's big. I think that helps you get through the tough time. Still being able to be attracted to that person, not necessarily just by size, but just being attracted to them. So it's hard. I think it's harder than we make it seem when you just say, just leave. Because I don't think anybody wants to, just giving him the benefit of the doubt, doesn't want to leave his wife who's battling this sickness, but yet instill his urges, not condoning cheating at any point by male or female. It is wrong. Once again, it is wrong. So that is my disclaimer. I stick with it. But at the same time, it's not as cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
I also want to say you said it sounds shallow for you to say, you want to always be attracted to your wife, but I don't think that's really all that shallow. Like it all plays a part. Like you're not with her just because she looks good, but that was part of it, man. And I think for women, what kind of enrages them a lot is, I think for the most part, from what we see, you see plenty of attractive women with a bigger, more rotund man from time to time. So I think from a woman's point of view, it's kind of like, once we love you, we love you. Even if you gain weight, we stick it there with you guys. Yet if we put on some weight, you're looking for the next young, hot, slim thing. And I think for them, that's what causes a lot of the disappointment in the whole situation, man. But
I agree. But I think a lot of times we're not being realistic with each other. So what you just said reminds me of my question to a certain extent, where when I talk to women and why do they marry guys, usually it's like they stop looking at that man as a husband, but more as a father and a provider. And so you got to think, for most young ladies and women from day one, they're taught this is what love looks like. It's the provider, it's the being a mother and all these things. The romance or the physicality of it isn't, I guess, portrayed or basically, I don't know. It's not as big of a deal from day one, from what I see.
Yeah, so society hasn't taught girls that it matters as much. I mean, it's can the guy provide for you? I mean, as far back as, look at The Color Purple, right? It was all about, they didn't care if Mr. was, attractive or not. It was all about, could he provide for you? And that was it. So, and as long as he was providing for you, he could actually go cheat. You talk about our grandparents' generation. The husband could go, as long as he was providing, he could go cheat as much as he wanted to, and you couldn't say anything. You couldn't leave him, but now it's getting a little different. Now women are saying, no, I am going to leave. They have that empowerment to be able to do that part. But I think that mentality of, as long as he provides for you, it's good enough, is okay with, or is still ingrained in some of us.
And I think women love to hear what you guys have to say. I think a lot of times they default to mother and father, where the sexuality and the attractiveness is not as big of a deal. It's just, I don't have to be attractive because I'm a mother. Mm-hmm. It's
we as men don't grow up and start looking at them as mothers and providers and spouses. We look at them like we're trying to date them again. I liken it to, you know, when people talk about a resume gets you in for the interview, but then you still have to interview, you still have to do the job. That's kind of how I look at it with this. You know, your attractiveness gets you into the interview, but after that, you got to work to keep the job and you got to work to get the job and everything. The problem is that guys too often don't get past the interview stage, and we still are interviewing other people. We always make sure that we got some resumes on deck, and and we're always checking the talent that's out there instead of us just saying, "This is my pick. This is who I'm going with," and rolling with it.
Yeah, and I think it might be because of the job descriptions are different.
Right.
So to say, you know, it's not doing a. Now, I don't want to label. I don't believe in any absolutes. So I'm not saying all women or all men are a certain way, but a lot of times I think about going back when I talk to women, like when they talk about what they're looking for in a husband, I'm pretty sure the top 5 of the list is somebody who's going to be a good father. They start playing house. This is their idea of what being grown is. Mm-hmm. You know, when we were young boys growing up, it was all about, you know, how many women you could have. You know, I remember being a little kid and my uncles asking me how many girlfriends I had. You know, you don't ask, you know. Which
is problematic. Right now.
Definitely problematic. That's a whole other conversation. But it's from day one, we're taught different things. Yeah. You know, a lot of times men almost see marriage as defeat. Like, well, you know what? I got a good one. Might as well marry her. You know.
I might as well.
Because it's
I guess it's time to settle down.
Because you think about it, like, we weren't at 18 thinking about, man, I can't wait to marry this chick. But I remember the girls I dated. I know all your girlfriends in high school. Like, it was Razi and da-da-da together forever. You know, like all on Trevor Kid, like girls using your last name. A lot of women fantasize about marriage, but it's the motherhood and all those things that lead up to it.
Definitely.
So
I'm gonna pass it to you, Raji. I just wanted to say I like what you said, Ferg, in the sense that we don't necessarily know that's why he cheated. It could have been something completely different, and you know, he already had a familiarity with Nicole. But let's just say it was that. You know, I just want to say on a final thought on it is because he seemed to be fairly in decent shape. So usually when you're married, you're in the house, you're eating the same thing, you know. So it seems like if that was the case, then they could have been already growing apart. Like he was being active, going to the gym. She was not, you know, interested in what he was. So it could be something deeper than just you put on weight. I think for some couples, you know, hey babe, I'm going to the gym. You want to come with me? Nah, I'm gonna stay home and eat these pork rinds. Like, not saying that this is their situation. I'm just saying hypothetically in couples that happen like this. Like, so it may not be that she put on weight. It's just that, hey, we have these almost separate lives now where I'm into this and they're into that. So
and you're right. And I always want to put this. I think it's intent. To me, one of the most important things in marriages is having the right intent. So just for example, let's say I go to the gym. My wife wants to get back in the gym and I say, hey, babe, you know, you gained a little weight or whatever the case may be. Let's go to the gym together. And she goes and she starts working out, but she can't lose it. But I know the fact that she's going and trying.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's knowing that this person's in there with me. Like, I'm trying to get a 6-pack back. My 6-pack doesn't agree with me, but I still go in the gym. My wife knows I'm trying to get it back. So it's you know, but hey, babe, I'm going to the gym. I think we should work out together, da-da-da. And you're like, no, I'm not. Everything else in her life is more important than working out for health reasons. And like, hey, my husband just asked me to work out. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. And not saying women are just they're supposed to sit there and the lives revolve around men, but at the same point, if my wife asked me to do something that I knew was bothering her, am I going to push it to the curb because of whatever else, all the other things in my life that take priority over it? But
Ferg, I want to just jump off of that real quick before I get into my question, and then we'll move on. But like when you were talking about not to say women or women's lives should revolve around men, I think that's like a false negative, because as spouses, your life should revolve around your spouse. There's no other way to do it. If you guys are in this kind of relationship where we revolve around each other and we help each other and we make decisions, because as soon as one person makes a unilateral decision that changes the family, you start to grow apart right there. So it needs to be that you guys are revolving around each other. I think that's what you were kind of talking about with the parents having to put some time for themselves before the children. It needs to be you two against the world.
Yeah, and the way I was prefacing it was not to lose yourself, because my wife says jump, then you jump. Like you're not here to say, okay, well, I need you to be a size 0. And you're like, dude, I'm a size 12 and I'll never be a size 0. And I'm not going to go to the gym and starve myself because of this. I'm willing to work out. I understand that you have needs, or, so.
I could be a fit 12.
Yeah.
I was about to say a size 12, it can look good.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking any of it. I'm just saying, having unrealistic expectations or necessarily catering is being one-sided. I guess that's the way it is. Cool. Bring us home, Razi.
All right, man. Great discussion, guys. Well, mine's not as serious.
My bad.
So no, I think that's a good thing. We can come back and lighten it up a little bit. So we've had this discussion in the group chat a couple times, and everybody who we're class of 99, LaFleur, All Day Law, LHS, and we just recently had our class reunion, and turnout was pretty small for what I've seen some of the other class reunions. But I've seen that happen from 98, 2000. There's a lot of classes that I've seen their class reunions get smaller and smaller over the years. And so I brought the question up in the group, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys here, is do you guys think that social media has kind of put a hindrance or a dampening on the purpose of a class reunion? Like, do I need to have a class reunion when I see these people on social media every day, day in, day out? I know their every move, versus going back and hanging out with those folks again?
Yes. Yes, I think it has. Of course, there could always be other factors, but, my ideal class reunion, was pretty much painted by TV. Like, I remember Al Bundy going to his on Married with Children. I remember Martin going to his, Pretty Ricky is what they call him. But now, in today's age, Martin would already know what Ricky Fontaine was up to. He would already know who's married to who and how many kids they have and stuff. It's like, with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and everything else we have, there is no hunger to know what's going on in a classmate's life that you haven't seen in person in over 10 or 20 years. Like, you may not have seen them in person, but you see them every day on social media. So I think the hunger to really want to get there has died down a little bit. I was a little disappointed in the turnout from what I saw, but then, like you said, Razi, I saw the same type of turnout for 98. And from other schools, not just LaFleur, like other schools in other states, it seems like the class reunion is not that big of a deal as it used to be. And I definitely think social media has a place in that.
Yeah. And that kind of goes to the advent of the all class reunion. That's another thing that LHS is big on in Mobile. And you guys see other schools are trying to do it now. Can't do it as well as us. Sorry, guys. But with that being said, I think the all class reunion is a good change where you can go back and relive those glory days and talk and laugh and joke about just about high school, kind of like we did at the start with Mr. Marshall segment, while at the same time having that larger turnout.
Well, the answer is yes. but I think it's two parts to it. I don't think it's just that it's social media and I get to see my classmates on a regular basis or interact with them. But if you look at generations and how the world is moving anyway, we're getting away from human interaction, like face-to-face human interaction. So it's not that I just get to see them and I know what's going on. Being in front of somebody or even think about how many times you might not answer a phone call, but you'll text somebody back. I think it's that same thing where we're not craving that interaction like that anymore. It's, which I think is the bad thing, considering the fact that you get close to these classmates, you get to stay in touch with them, and now we get a chance to go out and have fun or interact and go to a club or do whatever we're going to do, go to church together. I'd rather just be your friend on the social media page. And maybe it's because I can be whoever I want to be on social media, but when we get face to face,
can't fake it.
We can't fake it. Or is that same interaction? Like, do we have that same connection that we have? We joke back and forth on Facebook, but we get in front of each other and we can't. How's everything going? It's great. How are you? All right. See you 10 years from now, 5 years from now. So I think we're getting away from that human interaction phase, and social media is a big part of it.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't even think about that. Where the we as humans just don't want to interact as much anymore. I mean, me and Jenica will joke about it's too people-y out there. I can't people today. Like, we don't want to go and interact and everything. And so having to say, I'm going to go and be with people that, again, I haven't seen in 15, 20 years, is that a good use of my time? Is that and my energy? Because I have to expend so much energy just to be around people and interact with them and talk with them. And do you want to do that or not? And so I always found it hard. I mean, you guys know I talk about, me and my PTSD and not wanting to go out, not wanting to interact. And so it's hard for me to say and get my mind around, I'm going to go and interact with folks that, even if I liked them in high school, even if I enjoyed that time with them in high school, going back and reminiscing, it's still hard for me. So, I'll pay my dues and end up not showing up. So because I thought I wanted to go up until the day I needed to leave Birmingham to go down to Mobile, and still won't go.
But to your question, are there too many distractions in life, period? Like, is there just so much you can do outside of go to a class reunion? I think about when, like Byron said, when I was watching class reunions on shows in the 80s and 90s, people they didn't have the full lives that we have. Like, I can find something to do every night here, away from my house, away from my family, or with my family, whatever the case may be. Am I looking forward to the class reunion? I mean, how high on my list of priorities does it sit? Because there's so many more things, and not saying our class, but to the average person that can just take precedent. I mean, priority over it.
I would love to see the numbers on, say, a generation ago, how many people moved away from their hometown to start a new life in a faraway city versus now. I would think and assume that it happens a lot more now. And listen, me being in DC, Ferg, you in Houston, if we don't live in Mobile, we really have to plan in advance to come to a class reunion. And so if it doesn't fit in our schedule or other people's schedule, they can't make it, versus the majority of the classes a generation ago, most of the people stayed, got a local job, and they were already living in town. So I wonder, like I said, I would like to see the numbers on that, but I wonder if that plays a part to where, people just don't have the time or finances to travel back home for a class reunion to see a bunch of people that they pretty much know how their life is going anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
Well, it's been a good show, fellas. Thank you for keeping it light and airy. I think we might have got a little too serious.
Ladies, if you didn't appreciate our answer, I hope you appreciate the fact that we were brave enough to even try to tackle that subject and navigate and try to avoid as many landmines as we could. All three of us acknowledge we have blind spots in certain areas, and Ferg always encourages you to give us feedback. And if it's constructive criticism on one of our answers, we're open to it, man. We always trying to get better.
Yeah, definitely. We don't need
guys, don't forget, always, if you like what you're hearing, click subscribe. Make sure you tune in for the next episode.
All right. I always wanted to say this. Spay and neuter your pets.
The hell?
You didn't watch that, Byron? The Price is Right. Wasn't The Price is Right?
That's The Price is Right. Bob Barker, baby.
I mean, I'll watch it, but, I don't know how familiar I am with it, but okay.
He ended every show like that, so I'm going to do my Bob Barker. Byron, you got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I don't know how I missed that, though, because I watched the many Young and the Restless that would come on after that. So,
hey, man.
Who knows what else?
What? Circa. Bro, we just, once again, going back to skip school and watch Young and the Restless.
Oh, man, we was watching Jerry Springer.
Well, Young and Restless came on before that. Victor Newman was my role model.
That dude's still alive and still on the show, as a matter of fact.
And still a pimp.
Yeah.
How do you know that, Byron?
Believe it or not, man, they have it on in our break room sometimes, man. I'm like, oh, Victor Newman's still on there? So, yeah.
Wow.
That's it. All right, people. Thanks once again for tuning in to Three Brothers No Sense. See you next show.